This is a statistical analysis report by David Ponto for Math 120 Introduction to Statistics. The question that I am asking is, do hospital employees who work the day shift receive more sleep than their counterparts who work the night shift? A random sample of 60 hospital employees were selected from nursing unit schedules, 30 from each shift. They were given the following survey and asked for honest responses to the questions. Question number 1, what shift do you work? Question number 2, how long have you worked on this shift to the nearest 6 months? Question 3, how many people live in your home, including yourself? And how much sleep do you receive on an average night? The analysis. First of all, to check the data, did a normal probability plot to check to see if the data was linear, and in most instances it is. Box plot was used to check for outliers. For the day shift data, there were no outliers. The night shift data did indicate one outlier. The average amount of sleep received, the most frequent response for both groups was between 6 and 8 hours. Time spent on a given shift, most frequent response was anywhere from about 2 to 4 years. And the number of people in the household, the most frequent was anywhere from 1 to 2 in the household. Now, to put that data together so it makes a little sense, I have a chart that lists the number of hours slept and the number of people in the household and number of years on the shift. And if you'll notice on the left side where the hours of slept is 4.5 and goes up from there, there's a reverse correlation between that and the number of people in the household. As the number of hours sleep goes up, the number of people in the household goes down. And that is the case for both the day shift and night shift. When you look at the data that shows the number of years on each particular shift, while the data does vary, there's nothing really that correlates to hours of sleep. It's kind of random. So what we did with the data from the survey was to form a hypothesis and to test that hypothesis about the population mean. The data is as follows on the chart. We checked mean, standard deviation, median, max value, minimum value, and range. The requirements for the test was a simple random sample, which we do have. Sample size of more than 30. There are 30 from each shift, and independent. The sample size is much less than the 5% of the total of all hospital employees. My hypothesis: hospital employees who work the day shift receive more sleep than those who work the night shift. Stated differently, the null hypothesis is equal to 6.7 hours, which is the amount of sleep that the night shift employees have reported. The alternative hypothesis is that M2 is greater than 6.7 hours slept. Level of significance was chosen as alpha equals 0.05. T-stats and the p-value below were calculated from StatCrunch. And as you can see, the p-value was 0.0995. Data analysis reveals that the mean hours slept for the night shift employees is 6.7 hours, with a standard deviation of 1.24 hours. Random sample of 30 day shift employees has a mean hours slept of 7.18, with a sample standard deviation of 2.0. Once again, the question is, do day shift employees receive more sleep than night shift? And again, the level of significance is set at 0.05. P-value is calculated to be 0.0995 as stated previously. That is to say that in a given survey we would expect approximately 9.95% of the responses would be in the same range. because the p-value of 0.0995 is greater than alpha, which equals 0.05, we do not reject the null hypothesis. The conclusion: there's not significant evidence at the alpha equals 0.05 level to conclude that day shift hospital employees receive more sleep than hospital employees who work the night shift. Confounding variables, as we stated earlier in the chart, number of individuals living in the home, that did affect the outcome, and the number of years experience working on one's given shift, although we didn't see any specific correlation to that. That could at some point play a role. Working variables, things we did not account for was commute time to and from work. If a person has a long trip to work, that could very well affect the amount of time they have available to sleep. Also additional responsibilities such as having a second job. Anything that you have on your plate that's not part of your workday will definitely affect the amount of time you have to sleep. And things to consider for future studies. Larger, more varied samples, possibly from several facilities, would give a broader range to the answers and possibly give a more accurate result. Also, did not account for the fact that a person may have, whether or not they worked the day before. That could have a very great effect as to how much sleep a person gets. And also job expectations. Some employees may be more likely than others to work past the end of their scheduled shift due to job expectations. And that is the end of my presentation.